sleep horror. If you've ever felt that shiver down your spine, that whisper in the back of your mind telling you something isn't quite right, then you've come to the right place. Here, we don't just tell horror stories. We guide you into them, carefully, slowly, until you're unsure where the story ends and your reality begins. Tonight's confession is more than a story. It's a mirror held up against the fragile face of intimacy. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to Sleep Horror. And if the darkness stirs something in you, leave a like. Let's descend together. The sound wasn't external. It came from within the chest. A dry, irregular thump, like a heartbeat unsure of its own rhythm. The silence in the apartment curved around it, breathing with it. You know when something isn't right. I knew too. Maybe it was the exhaustion, maybe the loneliness that clung to the old carpet, the peeling wallpaper like dead skin. Or maybe it was the glow on my phone, a notification like any other, except this one seemed to whisper something low and almost imperceptible. Come. Dating apps promise dreams. Glossy profiles, carefully curated words, a sparkling marketplace for souls trembling at the edges. Swipe after swipe, each a door creaking somewhere far off. What if every profile you touch is another closed room inside your mind? Picture it, a mansion abandoned by time, corridors swallowed by shadows and damp, each door guarding not people, but fragmented memories, calcified desires, fears stuffed under the floorboards. You swipe, yes, but really, you're turning the key in the lock of your own soul. As the kitchen light flickered weakly, I accepted the invitation, a name, a skewed smile, words echoing as familiar and as dreadful as a recurring nightmare. You recognize the smell of ruin before you step into the wreckage. The illusion of endless choice is the cruelest abyss. There is no abundance, only repetition. Variations of the same void, dressed in different clothes. You long to meet someone, but you fear being seen. You crave touch, but know that beneath the skin, there are no promises. The other is a mirror, a distorted reflection of the urges you've never dared confess, not even to yourself. The smile you see is the one you fear to wear. The voice greeting you is the one that haunts your darkest dreams. You remember that glance that lingered just a second too long. It's in those imperceptible pauses that horror slips in, as if, for a moment, something inside you recognized something in the shadow of the other and accepted captivity. Opening yourself to intimacy is opening cracks, fissures through which the unnamed creeps. The mind resists, struggles against collapse, but it's already surrendered. Each gesture, each shared word is another brick pulled from the fragile wall of your identity. Edgar Allan Poe understood this. He understood the weight of narrow walls, the horror that doesn't scream. It watches, patient. To Poe, love was a tomb of expectations, and a date, a telltale heart, pounding louder as disappointment approaches, a spectral drum leading you into your own emotional grave. It was already too late. The choice had been made. The heart raced, not with excitement, but with recognition. An ancient ritual reenacted, a silent offering laid on the altar of loneliness. You feel it too, don't you? The invitation was accepted, and all the doors are now open. There's a subtle difference between a spontaneous smile and one that hesitates, a smile that, for a second, seems unsure, like the intention needed to be measured, calculated before being released. You've seen it. The smile that comes 2 seconds too late. The laughter that feels rehearsed, choreographed by some invisible script. Tiny cracks in the mask of civility, revealing what lurks behind the flesh. Social anxiety is a ritual of masks. We all wear one, but some have forgotten how to remove theirs. Or worse, some never have. Psychologists call it delayed social validation. The face reveals the truth only when it's too late to escape. And when you realize it, you're already caught in a silent trap of glances. A game whose rules you never learned. Studies show our eyes catch micro-expressions before our mind can. A twitch of an eyebrow, a flicker at the corner of the mouth, a fleeting gleam of intention. We feel it before we understand. And still, we stay. I stayed. The restaurant was small, cozy, warm lights, dark wooden tables, the scent of fresh bread lingering. A fabricated comfort, a silent promise of safety. But you know, it's in these places where everything feels calm that the walls listen, where safety is just a glossy veneer hiding the emptiness beneath. Sitting across from each other, the cutlery between us was like sheathed swords, and the conversation, a clumsy dance of hollow words trying to drown out the silence thrumming like an underground current. As time crawled by, I felt like an observer of my own body, a bystander trapped within my skin. It's called situational depersonalization, a quiet fracture where you dissolve into the surroundings, a flimsy shield the mind erects when it can no longer face what's right in front of it. No escape, it's already inside. You've heard of the mere exposure effect. The more you see something, the more you trust it. Even if it's a predator, even if it's a smiling abyss, the brain normalizes the anomalous. It reduces fear to small sparks you can ignore, because it's easier to believe everything is fine. And what's more anomalous than a date with a stranger? A ritual in the dark, a silent offering of your defenses. On Tinder, we swipe until we find a face that seems familiar. But familiar doesn't mean safe. It just means repeated emptiness. There's a moment when time falters. A long pause. A gap that devours hours and seconds. I was there. And then I wasn't. I can't remember the words we exchanged. I can't remember leaving. Just being in a strange car. Driving through streets that all looked the same. Dissociation is progressive. First the body, then the mind. You glance sideways and see not a face, but a hollow representation, a spectral double, being with someone who isn't real, not the person you saw on the screen, not even the one you imagined, just absence shaped into flesh. Clinical cases record these social blackouts, moments when the mind, overwhelmed by trauma, simply shuts off. But I didn't shut off. I stayed. Imagine a labyrinth, not walls and mazes, a mental labyrinth, no exits, no entrances, just corridors folding into themselves. Each date, each swipe, each shallow conversation is another step deeper, until you realize the door you entered through never existed. Tinder is that labyrinth, a black mirror where you seek the other and find only your own shadow. Stories exist of people whose dates ended in oblivion, names forgotten, faces erased like breath on a cold window. But absence remains. You remain. Routine is the perfect stage for horror, not the horror that screams, the horror that whispers, that hides in the cracks of normalcy, between a sip of wine and a forced smile. Shirley Jackson knew this. Horror doesn't dwell in haunted houses, but in the hallways we walk every day, blind to the small, invisible cruelties we inflict on ourselves. The date is a ritual, an offering performed over and over, soaked in silence and dead hopes, in small, invisible betrayals. What we seek in others is what we fear most in ourselves. And that's why the perfect date is the most dangerous, because it doesn't show you someone else. It shows you the abyss, the absence of control that we pretend not to see. And when you gaze into the abyss gazes back.